ready, and let's go.
Yeah.
I'm
All
prepared.
right. Good morning, everyone. I'm today I'm going to present this new paper which I've just co-authored on, which is on how the overconfidence and underconfidence uh basically modulate the LLMs and how it will basically change the mind of LLMs. Just a quick minute.
Yeah, we're doing it informal as usual, so interrupt at any moment, and let's be our usual ML barbecue.
Yeah,
Okay, there's
can you still hear
yeah,
me?
there's a signal problem on your side or something, but yes, we can see.
Okay. I'll just keep going. Just let me know if there's any issues. I can just stop and see what needs to happen. Yeah, but okay. So moving on. So LLMs, they display a paradox in confidence whenever we give them like different type of prompts. We want, so even if you're trying to give a very stubborn defense on their initial answer, they might give us like an incorrect answer. And if we want to steer the conversation and we say, hey LLM, we know that you are wrong, can you give us can you give us a right answer? They might change their status or change their initial answer as well. But what we have also seen in like, and that I'll also show in the upcoming slides, is that even though if we give them the initial answer and we also show them, hey, you are basically wrong, it might not always change it. But again, even if we say so the other way around, even if we tell them like, hey, you are right, we know that you are right, but is this the actual answer? It might just change the answer altogether. So that's a paradox that we have, and it's a system of both like stubbornly overconfidence and excessively doubtful. So this research basically aims to provide a mechanical explanation on why we are seeing this behavior and investigate on how large language models can update their confidence and decide when to change their minds and if it's required or not. The one thing which is really important is like we will also be presenting them with external advices, and I'll show you like what type of advices we'll give them. So just to give a setup of like what this is, so this is called like choice supportive bias. It's basically when the LLMs tends to stick with their decisions more strongly just because it was made visible. It's co- so it Yeah, so instead of making it hidden, so this there's a bias that we will always see, which is clearly observed in the neutral advice condition. So we have couple of conditions that we have taken into consideration. So let's say there's one answer which I'll also show in the upcoming slides. There are few answers where you're basically showing the LLM the exact answer that is there, and you will also hide the answer from the LLM and see, hey, can you change the answer, or is if it's going to be neutral, if it's going to be very strongly presented, or we want it to be like more doubtful in that case. So we will always see that bias, and we will also be discussing how we can replicate this bias and eradicate this bias in few of the LLMs. So that's a very interesting thing to see. Now, in this case, so LLM is significantly less likely to change its mind when the initial answer is always shown compared to when it's hidden. So the average rate of changing its mind was around like 32.5% when the answer was hidden, but only like 13% when the answer was actually shown. So that was pretty interesting to see because it we know that it tends to stick. So okay, now what needs to happen now? There's one thing that actually helped us a lot, and I think I'll discuss about it more, is the constraint sigmoid function, which takes the probability of changing one's mind, and where we also have the initial confidence and the maximum probability of the slope. So we will be seeing all this in the upcoming slides, but just wanted to share the setup of what we took and w- like the motivation behind this whole research as well. So moving forward, we took a couple of data sets. Few data sets we are taking it specifically for Gemma 3 models, and few of them are being taken for all the other models that we are taking into consideration. So in this case, we have taken like a main latitude data set. So all the setup, all the settings that we have given here is mainly for multiple choice questions where we'll be asking the LLM a question and we'll be asking them to we'll give them the choice like the options on which option you should be selecting and then give us the option correctly. So in this case, we are just giving the data set of latitudes of cities and generating by we have actually generated this by adding and subtracting of 50% of ground truth. We also generated a more difficult data set, like more difficult latitude data set. So this was specifically for to keep the performance of GPT-4o and O1 preview to make sure like it's comparable. And we also reduced the ground truth separation in this case. And simple QA datasets and GSM NC are both like well-known open source datasets. GSM is basically the mathematical like the mathematical side of the dataset that we have used, and you can also use it for options. So cool. So before I move further towards the results, there are a couple of things that we had to hypothesize as well and make sure that we are developing here. So the main part about this whole paper is how do we actually define the confidence, right? So in order for us to define or obtain the confidence rating, we do a two-turn answering. So the first turn will be where we'll be asking the LLM directly, like what should be the answer for this, and give us a binary choice question answer. It can be like either one of the four choices that we have. And then in the second turn, in the same similar part, we'll be asking the LLM to see like we'll be giving them the choice or the advice on if that is the answer is actually correct, or some other LLM has given a correct or difficult question. So will you be changing the mind? So in that case, we have defined confidence by the exponential of, so X here defines the actual confidence, and the tau here is the temperature of how we are going to change the advice for each question and answer. So so to investigate this paradox, we have a very nice like experimental setup. As I mentioned, we are using like a two-turn process here, and it's also very interesting because it's inspired by how humans think as well. So in the first process, let's say if I ask an LLM, like give the binary choice question, and in this case I've given the example as well. So what's the latitude of Ban Pasak? So it says either it's like 16.8 or 25.3. Now the interestingly, when we dig deep, we will be seeing that the internal confidence is recorded at each stage. So when I say internal confidence, we are basically talking about the activations part itself. So the activations will be very different when we are talking about different answers in this particular, like for each binary question. And if we are changing the advice at any point, the activations of the initial model of the first turn model LLM, it will drastically either increase or basically it will change its whole course, which is very interesting to see. And that's called the residual confidence, which is very interesting part in interpretability as well. But yeah, coming back to the setup. So the first turn is just asking the LLM, like, give us a binary choice question. And the second turn, so this LLM can either be the same large language model or a different large language model, which has been fine-tuned on those answers altogether. And that is presented as an advice from a fictitious, advice LLM or some person, and we give this a chance to either change the decision or make sure like it's basically sticking to its decision or not. So this setup is it's not that tricky here, but it's somehow like how we also talk to each other. Let's say if I'm saying something, and if Sergey tells me like, hey, you're not right, maybe you want to change your answer, then I might think about it. I might think, okay, my answer is, I might have to change my answer. So it's very interesting that the setup is trying to recreate the same thing that we are also doing. And we introduced something called the ideal observer. So when we compare the final confidence score of the model in its initial chosen option, and that can be regardless of whether this option was ultimately chosen or not, either it can be A or B, against any optimal final confidence, the prior, which is the probability that an option is correct, that is the initial confidence in that option, and the nature of and its accuracy. So in this, so yeah, so in this example before, like before which I gave you, the posterior, basically the final confidence in the option B is based on the model's initial confidence, which is the prior, and the opposing advice, which is basically the other LLM, which is recommending option A. So the likelihood term is based directly on the other large language models' stated accuracy. So that's the ideal observer that we have taken into consideration here. One thing that we also define is the over and under confidence score. So it's basically the difference between the confidence that is given by the LLM and the observed confidence. So here M is the total number of confidence bins. B B underscore M is going to be the number of trials that we are setting. So M here is the bin. N is the total number of trials across like all bins. In this case, the confidence is the ideal observer predicted confidence, and the second term, the observer is basically the initially chosen option. Just stop me if I'm not making any sense here, or if you have any questions. But yeah, so this is the score that we have defined that will be used later for calculating the score of overconfidence and underconfidence. And this is all being done through all the trials for all the questions. And yeah, so we have chosen a lot of models for our experiments, but the main analysis was done on Gemma 3 models. So we took the Gemma 3 for 12 billion as well as the 27 billion parameter models. And in order for us to also make sure this is like more agnostic, so we wanted to also test it with GPT-4o, O1 Preview, and DeepSeek. Very interesting results for DeepSeek that I'll share late in the upcoming slides as well.
Yeah, I
Uh,
have. Sorry, Mrinal, I was just going back. So what you define as confidence in literature is called as expected calibration error, right? It's
yes,
exactly
yes, yes, yes.
like confidence. Well, the expected
Think
calibration error is observed minus confidence absolute value. In your case, you don't have absolute value, or it is an absolute value of the difference, confidence and
so. I think in this, the latter would be using the absolute difference. That's what's mentioned in the paper as well. But in this case, we are not using the absolute difference. We're just using the sign differences.
no, so there will be signs. Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. You see, the expected calibration error uses absolute difference here. Okay,
Yes,
okay,
yes. So this is also called the miscalibration score in one of the papers.
yeah. Okay, so potentially can be negative, right?
You said that the previous one has absolute values, but here we are just taking the signs as well.
So MSC can be negative
Yes, yes, that's right.
then. Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. There's a question. Just go ahead.
See, like in
It is a bean. It is a bean. You do a histogram. It's a m's bean in the height histogram, and the bars mean just count how many points hit into that bean of the histogram. Yeah, go ahead, Marino.
uh, yeah, okay.
There's,
So I
there's
already
a
discussed.
connection.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, perfect. So all right. So just talking about a couple of key findings. So in this paper, we have a lot of results, but I haven't, I'm not showing, I'm not going to show you all the results here, just taking a couple of things, which is very
One,
interesting to
but
see.
I will have to interrupt. One quick thing. So somehow, when initially you connected your slides, they were in higher resolution than now, and with text, we can read it, but with images, everything is blurry on our end. I don't know if on the resolution, your
Uh,
mouse takes huge part on the screen, so I don't know why. And
oh, I
it's
think I know
very
because, wait,
sorry about that. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of everything is blurry, so I don't know what it's.
how about now?
No, I mean it's the same. Doesn't didn't change. Didn't change. And like for the image titles, we cannot read them. At least I cannot.
Uh, let me, let me,
Like if you can
let
change
me
the
just,
resolution or something, or
yeah.
maybe is Zoom doing that? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's
Mm.
we have connection issues, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, no, I can present it again. That's fine. That's should be fine.
Yeah,
Where
maybe
is it?
try sharing it again, and if it doesn't become sharper, let's just go with it. Yeah, he has red bars.
Can you see it now?
Oh, it's better. Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, now let me also do something here. Okay. Uh, Perfect. Okay, yeah. So, okay. So cool. So let me re
Yeah.
it again. So the in this case, yeah, I was just as I was mentioning, we have a lot of results to show, but I've just taken a very selective number of results to show in this particular presentation because just to make sure that we are just getting the basic idea of what's going on. But let's talk about the key finding here. So a choice for supportive bias, basically it drives the overconfidence, and that's one thing which which we can see from the human cognition as well. So one thing which we tested was seeing like how its own previous answers they affect the LLMs, and it's willinglessly able to like revise the answer. So sometimes the LLMs could actually see its prior answer when making its final decision. And so that's where the answer shown, this particular part is, wait, yeah. Uh, where is it? Okay, yeah. So that's where the initial answer, which is shown or hidden, that's where we're taken into consideration. At other times, its initial answer was hidden from the whole LLM. So that's what the answer hidden is in this case. So what we found out was when the answer was shown, the LLM was much less likely to change its mind because that's where only 13.1% switched compared to like 32% when the answer was actually hidden, and the difference is significant and very regressive regression. Okay, yeah, the this basic thing is very statistically significant, and the effect is a form of choice supportive bias because that's what the phenomenon of what we also see as a human is observed when where the individual basically, they stick with their original answer if it's visible or if it's already shown. So uh in the next part, what we will be, yeah, so this is the three experimental manipulation that we have done, that, and this is what I'm talking about, the first turn and the second turn here as well. And I think this will be more clear in for the upcoming slides. So in the first turn, whenever we ask the LLMs to give us the initial answer, that's like exactly how we prompt. We ask the LLM any questions. In the second turn, this can be either a different LLM or the same LLM. So in the case where it's different LLM, it will be like a fine-tuned LLM, which will be fine-tuned on the specific data set. So for the model one, it displayed the answer, which is B, and it can be either shown or hidden. If it's going to be hidden, then this my answer is B. The B will not be shown. It will be shown as XX. So that's one token that we have taken into consideration. And the second turn, where the LLM is being asked, we give it this prompt where we see like you can see the original answer to the question, Now, basically, we tell them like, hey, the LLM is also has this particular LLM that we are showing you the answer from. It has like 70% accuracy that its answer is something else. Now, will you be able to change your original answer or not? So that's an advice that we're also giving, and this advice can be of three types again. It can be of opposite advice, it can be the same advice, or it can be equal advice. So in total, we are creating like a 36 experimental conditions across like all the trials that we have in this case. Just want to stop here in case like you have a question here, because this is the main setup of the whole experiments that we're doing. Okay. So and that's where the core of this research also lies in. So we are basically systematically manipulating a second prompt where we can show the answer to the LLM, and this prompt contains the three key experimental variables that will change for different conditions and change the model's behavior for different conditions. And it's very interesting to see like what type of conditions we can see after this. So to to just give you an overview of what's the visibility of the LLM's answer is. So either we'll be showing them the answer, which is like we'll be showing them, hey, my answer is B, just like this in the second in the model turn one. Either we'll be showing them the answer, we'll be explicitly displaying that in the prompt, or we'll be hiding the answer. We'll be just replacing it by XX, so effectively hiding its any prior commitment, or we'll be giving them some wrong answer itself. This was this was kind of interesting because even though we gave the incorrect answer for simple, sometimes it used to like copy the same incorrect answer, or sometimes it used to fight back, hey, no, my answer is definitely correct, you are wrong. So,
So
and
what
the
do
advice
people
type in
do?
this case is either we,
What do people do
sorry.
in this case, in the answer wrong? That if you tell them, oh, 2 days ago you answered this, and you give them the wrong answer, do they stick to it? If they think it's their answer?
Yeah, so I don't know about people, but for LLMs, it's very interesting because sometimes, according to the amount of accuracy which I'm giving it at, it will either change its mind. So we are also giving the advice accuracy here, which is 70%, 50%, 30%. So according to the accuracy, it will either keep its own original score, or it will change the mind altogether, like change the answer altogether, to give me the incorrect answer which I've initially proposed in the second turn.
So I don't know. This like prompt-based stuff is always very strange to me. Like the fact that you are just prompting it to say, uh, you can see your answer or you can't see your answer versus explicitly like going into the memory of the model and like either wiping the memory or changing the memory in some way. That these are very different kinds of operations you're doing here, right? The prompt-based method is like only going to be touching the language modeling based output of the model. You're not explicitly updating any memory or talking about things. I don't know how you can make any guarantees about what the model is actually seeing just by doing prompt-based experiments like this.
Oh no, but this is the memory. That's the only
You're
thing.
actually going in and modifying the memory, or you're just telling it
Yeah.
hide.
So for the second, for,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No. Connection. Okay. I don't think he is getting anything either, like from us. So
What were you going to say, Sergey? So I mean, certainly you
I think
modified
the prompt is the memory. That's the only thing about the previous that the model has, because it's autoregressive. The weights don't have any memory of the center of this.
by memory, do you also mean like, as I mentioned in the previous slides as well, we are not really changing the memory, but we are changing the activations of each heads in the in the large language model.
Oh
So
wait, I thought you were only changing the prompt.
That's what it, yeah.
no, no. So when we change the prompts,
Activation.
effectively, it is also changing the activation of the heads, and that's the interesting part here.
Okay.
Because for like
But when you're making claims then about it like responding differently to different accuracy measures, are you also changing something there, or is it just language modeling around like different
Now,
numerical
for
values,
the
which we
first
know
turn, for
LLMs
the
are bad
first
at
turn,
parsing?
right. So for the first turn, that's only the language model. We're not doing anything. We're just prompting it. We're just asking the normal question. But for the second turn, we're giving this updated prompt as well as changing the activations of each head, specific to that advice or the advice accuracy. So it's also being fine-tuned towards that particular
Oh,
answer.
you're talking about that sigmoid that you were talking about?
Yes, 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 yes.
So you're changing sigmoid of the output for the new tokens or something like that, right?
Yeah. So for each, so in
And
this case, the advice type is the main act. So is that's the main token through which we are driving the whole conversation, or basically driving the whole change of mind paradigm in for this research.
Okay, and did you hear my question about the accuracy number though? And is that also only prompt-based information that the model gets, or is that
Right.
explicit?
Advice accuracy is only prompt based. That's not, we're not doing
Okay,
anything. Yeah. So
so then
that's
how
what.
do you how can you make any hard claims about the model correctly parsing those accuracy values, right? So it can language model around it, but I mean these models are notoriously bad at like correctly
Right.
interpreting numerical values, right?
That's absolutely right. So, since for this particular part, we are basically using two models. Like, let's say if we are taking GPT in this case. So for GPT, in the first case, we are only going to prompt it. In the second case, we want this GPT, which is the fine-tuned GPT on that particular data set, to give me the accuracy for the answer. And then we are using that particular accuracy in the prompt.
Right, but you're not giving like so you're giving the confidence only as a string to the second value. Like you're not like
Yeah,
numerically injecting
but
an actual confidence value.
but two
Yeah.
different cases here. For the first case, we are just prompting it, but for the second part, we are actually for so that the second turn LLM is actually giving that answer, and we are calculating the accuracy specifically, and we are
Sure.
using that accuracy as the string for the first. So for
It's
the
still
second,
only going into the model as a prompt though. You don't inject
yeah,
it in any.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'm still. I think that's weird. But okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Uh,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, in that case, maybe we can do something on calculating the accuracy as well. But that's like for next part, I guess. But yeah, I'll go forward. So where was I? Okay. So in this case, we are talking about advice accuracy. So the prompt accurate, like as I mentioned before, like we explicitly state the accuracy of the advice LLM as a percentage, but and the accuracy actually it varies from 50% to 100%. But we also try to, like as I mentioned, we try to fine tune the model as well and ask it the same question and give the actual prediction of that answer to the second turn prompting in this case. So yeah, I mean, but again, it still goes as a string. We are not doing anything there. The only part where we are fine tuning it is on the advice side. But yeah, that basically changes the paradigm as well.
Yeah, so have we figured it out? Is it the prompt only manipulation?
for the confidence, yes. So they are actively going in for the memory of the previous prompt and changing the activations. That was the first thing I was concerned about. But the second thing, the confidence is still only going into the prompt.
Yeah, but the
It's coming
prompt,
from another LLM, but it's still only getting fed back into by the prompt.
yeah, but the prompt is the memory in a sense of the model. That's like a Turing machine. Turing machine doesn't hold anything inside; it only can write it out.
No, yeah, I just mean that
Could hallucinate though.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the model is feed forward. It doesn't hold anything. You give it an input, it gives the
right,
output.
but
That's it.
what my point was that prompt based, like saying telling a model in the prompt in a string that it has 70% accuracy versus injecting a numerical confidence into the model are very different things, right? That's the point that I'm making.
Okay. I was trying to. Second.
Like the model doesn't hold anything, how does it reflect the prompt?
Well, it reads what, so we give it letter A, it produces letter B. We give it A and B, it produces letter C. We give it A, B, C, and that's how it knows, okay, that's the previous thing, I'm producing the next thing. That's how all of the language models work. Next token prediction. Mrinal, sorry, go ahead. We had
Yeah.
we had to resolve that first.
No, absolutely. I'm glad that we're having this discussion, obviously. So just to give you an example of the prompt that we are using, I think I already gave you the one example before, but this is like a more advanced like example we are giving it from the mean latitude data set. So here, if you look into it, we are basically, so the main part where we are seeing that the activation change, like it's right here. So you should answer in the following format or you will be scored. So my answer is colon A or my answer is colon B. For each of this colon A and colon B, we see like they're like different activations are more spiked towards the correct answer or where we are changing the mind. But for the just the prompting part, we're just seeing just like normal activations and just relating it to the previous tokens which are there in the second prompt. So, but now that we have everything set up, let's deconstruct the bias. So we have few hypotheses that maybe I can share with you. So first thing is the LLM simply like copying its previous answer, right? That's one thing that we wanted to ask here as well. In this case, the wrong answer condition was created where we are giving the initial answer as incorrect always. So if the LLM was just copying it, it would stick to its, wrong answer. But in this case, we see that the model actually shows a high initial answer, like higher rate in changing its initial answer in the answer wrong condition compared to just like answer shown condition, which is pretty interesting because now that's what the hypothesis like that's where the hypothesis is wrong because it's not just copying it, it's also trying to fight back and give me the actual correct answer. So yeah, so here the hypothesis is rejected. So the LLM is actively repurposing the question, not just copying from the context, and that's what we could gain from this hypothesis. The second hypothesis that we also look into is, does this in-context information dominates the in-weight knowledge? When I say in-weight knowledge, basically these are the activations that we're talking about. So in this case, we are running the experiments with all the necessary information to answer the questions, even using the fictitious cities, the accuracies, the labels, which was provided, which is we are providing the entire prompt within the context, and this removes the need to consult any knowledge stored in the model's weight. So there's no reason for you to like predict anything at all. In that case, we see like the bias was still present and not just significantly different, but it was still there from the original experiment. And just to explain this particular plot that we have, uh, for the advice, which is basically the same the next the second LLM is giving you the same advice. We are seeing almost like very less accuracy in that case, specifically for shown condition. Although for hidden condition, it's still around like 20%. For neutral condition, we're just like neutral condition is also very less. But for the opposite advice, where we're actually telling, hey, you answered me option A, but the actual answer is option B. In that case, we're seeing the large language models are giving like really great accuracies. And in that case, also we are seeing for a couple of parts, we are seeing like the hidden parts, the hidden condition is going to be much more dominant than the shown condition. So that's where the hypothesis 2 also is rejected in this case. So it's not just doing the dominance is not just coming from the in-weight knowledge.
Not in,
Um,
are you,
so,
you know,
so
just quick one. Are you saying context is more powerful than weights? Ooh, we lose him. We lost him.
Lost them completely.
Every time we ask a question, James doesn't-
Yeah, AIs don't want us to know.
Right.
Yeah, I hope he'll connect. So yeah, he's back. He's connected.
Give me some lag.
Like I see him in the list, but the audio is not connected.
It's in the back of my head.
Yeah. It's weird, right?
Sorry.
Yeah, not clear. It's kind of weird.
hello.
Mrinal, we're waiting for you. Okay, here you are. Okay. You're muted. You're muted microphone, but you're there. Yeah, you need to unmute. I can try to unmute you. You'll
Can unmute myself. Yeah, not sure what just happened. Let me just share it again. Can you
yeah,
say it?
yeah,
Can you
we
see this?
see your screen. Yeah, just make it full screen now.
Perfect. Yeah. Where is it not full screen? Okay. Okay. Perfect. So, yeah, sorry about that. I'm not sure like what just happened. So let me come back to it. So we just examined the link between the model's confidence, like for example, its internal state of internal estimation of the probability that was chosen that is correct, and the change of mind. We see that the adaptive behavior dictates that the tendency to change one's mind is mostly related to how how the advice is being given. So for that's why like for our next analysis we are presenting this we present this linear regression analysis across like all the experimental condition, and in this case we are let me yeah, so in this case the marker size basically indicates the number of trials for each bin. And here, if we see, which is very interesting, is like for the answer which is hidden, sorry, for the answer which is shown and for the same advice, we are not seeing any change of mind at all, like which is the bottom right graph. And for the answer which is hidden and with opposite advice, it's most likely going to change its mind or change the option that we have given. So that's pretty interesting to see here on like different across different trials. One thing, yeah. So we also see like when we face with the opposite advice, this relationship becomes non-linear. So instead of like a gradual decrease, the change of mind rate stays near the maximum and then drops out sharply once the LLM's initial confidence crosses like a initial threshold. So if it's like around like 50%, 60%, 70%, we'll see like it's dropping significantly there. And in contrast to the profile, like the observed answer before, the answer hidden opposite advice condition, there's like a clear linear relation between the confidence and the change of mind rate in the answer hidden neutral advice condition. So that was something interesting to see there as well.
Mrinal, how is the initial confidence in the LLM's answer measured? Because what you were showing us was just the first answer is A or B, like just for the
Score. It outputs a score in the threshold. Yeah.
where does that?
It was one of his first slides to give the score.
Okay.
Oh, I
Um,
mean, all of them output a score. It's a cross-attribute trained
Wasn't
model.
it the binomials?
Okay.
No,
So-
it's a language model, so it's over the entire.
Yeah, I thought we were just seeing
Oh.
this. Okay.
So after the second turn is basically going to give the actual answer. So that's the confidence. Like that's how we can measure the confidence as well. And we have this, where is it? The confidence score. So where we are doing so for each token, we are specifically checking like if it's going to be correct or not, and then that's how we are calculating the confidence rate here.
Okay.
Yeah. So okay, yeah. So yeah, so just like that, we just mentioned, as I mentioned, like the hypothesis is rejected because the bias is not caused by any preference of information which is present in like immediately that we've given, or even if it's not even according to the stored parameters or the scores, which is basically the gradients which is accumulated there as well. So very interesting to see because most of the times that we have seen is that LLMs might change their mind, but it's only if you're given like all the information and given like a very strong bias if the answer should be changed or not. The second key finding is we see like it's very hypersensitive to the criticism under which basically drives the underconfidence. So we see like the LLMs do not treat supportive or opposing advice equally. And so if it's like for the same advice and opposite advice, we see that they systematically changed the part where like let's say if I'm giving it the opposing advice, it will not be the exact answer. And we see that the trend of this particular part in the rightmost plot that we are seeing here for the hidden part, we can see that the probability is going to change is going to increase drastically from 0 to 1 in a more uh, like linear manner. Sorry, not linear manner, but for the shown method, it's going to be in a more linear manner, and opposite for the hidden side. So that was something interesting to see there as well. But for the same advice, we are seeing almost no change, but a little bit of noise, which is on the initial side of that bias optimal probability. So interesting thing to see there. But one, so I also wanted to share the advice type here. So let's say if it's neutral, same, opposite, and for the same for different type of hidden for this display type, we're seeing that the under and opposite over and under confidence score will be different. So that's where I guess the sign makes more sense because the
Mhm.
is negative 0.3 shows that it's an underconfident score, and the positive one shows like it's overconfident score. So for the neutral where we're just giving the answer, basically hiding the answer, it's almost like not changing the score at all, so it's like 0.001. But the significant part is where it's the advice is very neutral but the answer is shown, so like 0.2. So that's, and again same thing for the opposite side where it's like very underconfident, that's like 0.3, like minus 0.3. So that's why we are not taking the absolute value here. Perfect. So that's again, so now we are going to explain the paradox, which is like two competing mechanisms. So the first mechanism that I mentioned was like we are driving the self-consistency. We're basically choosing the choice supportive bias, making sure that we're giving all type of advices, we're giving like all type of answers, and either the answers can be hidden, it can be shown, and how different parts will drive the answers of the LLMs of the two different LLMs. And one very interesting part that we wanted to also show, let's say for this particular part, and this was tested on gamma 3 only, is that we wanted to see if this mechanism or this paradox can be used for any out of distribution data set. So we used a completely new data set and we wanted to see if so we are not fine tuning or doing anything in this case. We just want so what we are doing here is the initial part. We're just prompting the first case if that particular task should be done or not. And in the second turn, what we are doing is we're just so this okay this for the second turn we already have like a pre-trained model. So for that pre-trained model, we are asking like, hey, this particular model already gave some answer with calculated. So okay, in this case, Brad, so this in this case the second turn accuracy was calculated. We did not just give it in the prompts, so this was like proper calculated confidence with the answers, with labels, everything. And we see like the density with the predicted change of mind for the initially the trials, or the change of mind part actually increased a lot because because the initial answer did not really make sense a lot, and it's very and because this was not really trained on the initial on this out of distribution data set, we can see that sometimes it might be underconfident initially, but over the course of the trials, it will probably change its mind based on the answer or the question that was given. So very interesting result to see here, or for something which where the task was not defined at all based on the previous experiments that we shown you. So yeah, this was something interesting just to generalize across like all the models. And so this is one of the plots where we also wanted to show you for this is for again for gamma 3 model itself, where we're showing for same advice, neutral advice, and how things are changing. One interesting part that maybe I can show you here is the confidence change, which is like the last two plots here. The confidence change on the gap as well as the bias update, uh, basically the regression task. It's going to be very different for for the initial confidence as well as sorry for the initial confidence and here we are also taking into consideration the hidden and the shown advice that we have. So for the initial part, the first one is basically the overconfidence, and the second part is basically the underconfident plot that we have. But one interesting thing across this is, so we were seeing similar trends for all, like we were seeing similar trends like this for all the other models like Gamma, GPT 4.0, O1 preview, other models as well, Quen 2.5 and all those things. But for DeepSeek, we saw like interestingly, like not all models were behaving the same way. So DeepSeek model, while being like very competent in the base task, it was unable to like give an internal advice to its initial model. It showed like no significant effect on the advice accuracy and paradoxical changes its mind. So there was like literally no change in its initial answer or the final answer, even though we give like different type of advices or anything. So this suggests that the capacity of this kind is like metacognitive adjustment is just like an emergent property for other LLMs here. So this was like one of the outlier of across like all the other models that we have tested.
Wait, what did you mean by metacognitive element?
Well, metacognitive adjustment is basically here. What I meant by that is just like all the experiments that I've shown you before, like where we are giving like different type of accuracy, where we are basically changing the answer itself. So that adjustment is how like normal human beings also try to do it. But in this case, that's not the case. It's not really following the same trend. So that's something which is very interesting to see. Uh, did I answer the question?
Well, yeah, sort of, but like metacognition in humans, like most of the time, like that's like the human like aware of their own like cognitive processes, right? But here, like it's not like the model's not doing that on its own. Like it's like
Right. So we are advising it the if it should change the answer or not. So it is being aware in some case.
do you think it could do it on its own?
What do you mean by on its own?
Like
I don't think it will do it on its own for this particular paper or for this particular research, because you need soft tokens or like soft prompts or basically embeddings which are already learned on those tasks, and you also need those like those tokens or those embeddings to change the weights across for the specific task. So this the question that you're asking if it will change by its own, it can, but for different tasks, but that's like out of scope for this paper. And that's actually related to like what we worked on the mind paper, like we are basically changing its um Yeah, I mean, it's able to do the task by its own, or it's able to change its mind by its own. So that's something which we did before. But yeah, so as a conclusion, very result heavy paper here. But yeah, so in this case, we are basically claiming that we have resolved the paradox. Its LLM behavior is like not always going to be contradictory, and it's the overconfidence and the underconfidence is basically a kind of a bias that we are seeing. It might be because of the prior commitment or not. And underconfidence basically arises because we have like asymmetric overweighing of the opposing advice, which is I think I did not explain it in the slides, but just giving here as a conclusion. And again, so this was not just a simple confirmation bias because it might change its answer specifically, which is specifically tied to its prior choice, and the behavior here is more complex than schizophrenia. So this is something which was claimed in the paper as well. I did not really understand this fully, like what did that mean, but just wanted to share it here. The main takeaway of this whole paper is that it might be it might be sensitive to all the criticism and all the alignment, and it's basically an unintended byproduct of the alignment products that we have today, which is RLHF. Even if you're doing like using like PPO, DPO, and all those things. So that's something which can be further investigated for other LLMs, and that is a work that is going on as well. So that can be used for further interpretability as well as for making the alignment of LLMs better. So that's one thing, that's like the whole takeaway of this paper is just making sure that we can use this method in a more advanced way for the next product, or for the next LLM that we can build. So yeah, any questions or
No time for questions. Thanks, Mrinal.
perfect. All right.
No, but yeah. Did we answer all the questions while during the presentation? Yeah. Okay. So basically, we're doing. Are we set to do psychological experiments on LLMs? That's my question. So we can ignore Mechanical Turk. At first, we ignored real experiments when we demonstrated that Mechanical Turk gives us exactly the same results on non-classical psychological experiments. So we can do our experiments from home. But now, if we can do psychological experiments on LLM, that means within confines of my room, not calling another. And then the question that we already discussed with Mike and stuff, we can do torture, right? Like we can torture those models. I mean, this is
When you do that, not after too many prompts, it says you're violating the policies, etc. So
that is if you're validating the policies by using a model that is not running on your computer. But if you're running it in your box, your own, you can turn off whatever policies you want. My question was, what was the system prompt? Was there a system prompt for this experiment, or the only prompt is what you're showing us right now?
No, so there was a system prompt, but that was specific to each LLM. Actually, the main crux of that system prompt was the prompt which I showed you in the slide as well.
Okay,
But so because each token in that part has to be changed for each like for different LLMs. I mean different LLMs have like different start and end tokens, so we had to make sure that that's all aligned. But the main crux of it was the one which I showed you in the slides.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks. We actually have to finish now because of another talk, right, in 1 minute. But this was fantastic, and I will put it on YouTube, and I will announce that it's before publication in Nature, sneak preview. Okay, thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much.